Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 31 of the UTR Pro Tennis Tour podcast. My name is James Mackay. I'm the Director of Player and Collegiate Development at UTR Sports. As you know, the UTR Pro Tennis Tour is the go-to tour for rising tennis professionals across the world. Guaranteed matches, guaranteed prize money. Next on the show, I have someone that I've gotten to know very well over the last 5 years, maybe more than that. But I have the assistant men's tennis coach at Auburn, Trey Morris. Welcome on, Coach. How are we doing?
Doing great, James. Thanks so much for having me.
The first thing I'll say is we have one thing in common, and that is my name is James, and your son is named James.
His name is James, but actually my legal name is James as well. So, wow. So I'm the third. So it's James Thomas Morris the third. That's why I go by Trey. So it gets incredibly confusing. Obviously, in the university world, when you've got all your official documents are in James and you're sending emails and people are responding, is this James or is this Trey? Who am I even talking to? And so my son actually has the same name and he's the fourth.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people say, especially being from Scotland, do I get called Jim or Jimmy? And I never get called that. I've always been called James. But anyway, I thought that was a nice little touch when I was doing some research before we got going here. Coach, it looks like we're in the office right now. We're in the great city town of Auburn, Alabama. We've got recruits in the background. Love it. Talk me through. We're in December. Right? It's maybe a slower time of year for being on court. There's only so much you can do.
Sure.
What's the mindset for you as a coach and what's keeping you busy right now?
I mean, first of all, I don't know how you can read that. I mean, my handwriting is horrible. So there's no chance that anyone's picking up anything valuable off that board. First of all, there is stuff written on there, but there's no chance it's any kind of value. No, I mean, I think for some, it might be considered a slow time of year. But it's funny. I was just having a conversation yesterday with our head coach, Bobby Reynolds, and with our director of ops. And I said, man, I felt like, this is supposed to slow down this time of year. But for me, I feel like it's only picking up. I think every moment of every day, I think if in this industry, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're looking to kind of gain an edge and you're looking to hustle in any way you possibly can. And that's exactly what we're doing here in Auburn. So, yeah, maybe the mindset, especially last week was kind of here at Auburn was the week before finals. And then this week is finals week for our boys. So it's true, probably a little less time on court. But really that just opens up the door for us to think of ways that we can enhance the program. Again, like you mentioned earlier, whether it's recruiting, fundraising, planning events. After this call, I've got a meeting to kind of go over and finalize our match promotions for the spring. So again, it's an exciting time and a time when I actually feel we're able to make massive headway. And now our boys are finishing up finals, so we're going to start getting back on the court with them as well, pretty much starting today and moving forward through the rest of the break.
You mentioned Bobby. Obviously has accomplished so much in the sport. To me, just from being a former competitor, I always felt like he did things the right way. Pretty calm-headed for the most part, wins, losses here and there. Things are going to go your way. They're not going to go your way. But Bobby seems to really carry himself the right way. How's that been working with someone who was obviously a terrific player and now is obviously a great head coach in the SEC?
I mean, first thing you have to know about Bobby, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, he is extremely calm, cool, and collected. He's also extraordinarily humble. Yes, he was top 50 in the world in the ATP Tour, spent 10, 11 years, maybe even pushing 12, kind of inside and around the top 100 in the world. So, just has a wealth of experiences and has the ability almost to maybe even have a massive ego, but that's just not who he is. I think for me, working with him, coming in, I've had whatever it was, 5-6 years of Division I head coaching experience, and he treats me as a head coach, and he gives me certain areas of the program that I kind of run with that are my areas, kind of lets me direct those and operate as in a leadership role inside those positions. And so I think that's unique for someone who's obviously been here and this has been his program for the last 9-10 years, to kind of relinquish some of that some of those powers, if you will, and trust someone to kind of run with certain areas, I think is massive. And again, I heard this from another coach in the industry. I won't say who it is, but these are not my words; these are his words. This is something that really attracted me to join forces with Bobby back in 2024 when I came on staff, which is just the statement that Bobby has more character in one finger than 99% of coaches in this country. And I truly believe that, having worked with him now for the last year and a half. Everything that we do here at Auburn is truly above table. That's just kind of what he believes. That's how we operate. It's black or white. It's either the right way or the wrong way. And I can tell you wholeheartedly that's something that we do as a staff, and we hope that we can impact our players to do, which is to operate again as tennis players, but also as human beings with high character, morals, and ethics.
That's great to hear. Well, you're obviously doing something right. Last year, you had tied the most SEC wins in regular season history. You had a dominance at home, going 13-1 overall. You were pretty much a top 25 team. Tell me kind of how you guys run your program from a developmental standpoint. What does it look like? Is it very individual based? Are you doing a lot of one-on-ones? Are you doing team practice? Are you running a lot? What does the weight session look like? If you can talk us through a typical week for Auburn men's tennis, what does it look like?
Yeah, so the way we kind of describe our training regimen is through individualized player development. All right. So what that kind of looks like on a week-to-week basis is maybe like many, if there's other coaches listening to this call, or James, maybe like what you guys did at Tennessee. Of course, we're going to practice as a team for 5-6 days a week, 2.5 hours per session, just kind of depending on where we're at with our training block, where we are with competition. Obviously, that time can vary. Now, I think what we do in those team sessions is a bit unique. A lot of it's based around Bobby's experiences on tour and kind of the way that he trained and the way that he believes we're going to allow our guys to find success, kind of developing towards that next level. But then pushing beyond that, we're going to be with our strength and conditioning coach, who I'll tell you, we're extremely lucky. He understands our sport very, very, very well. So, in the past, different places I've been, even last year in our program, we had a different coach, and this is no shot at him. It's just, he was a different coach. And we handled a lot of the conditioning on our end as a staff. And by our end, I mean myself, Bobby, Coach Dobai. But now we have a guy who truly understands this. We built a more comprehensive strength and conditioning plan with Matt Smith. And so he runs with all of it. So we're 5 days a week. Now, kind of depending on, how many days we're in the weight room versus on the track versus on the court. Versus on the indoor turf, kind of doing different things, whether it's conditioning, strength work, plyometrics, whatever it might be, just kind of, again, depends on where we are in our blocks, right? And where we are in our training regimen. But again, it's going to be about an hour and a half per session. And then pushing beyond that, here at Auburn, we're extraordinarily fortunate, James. Maybe, again, I don't know what it was like at Tennessee, but we've got world-class people around. So our guys utilize all of our resources, and we actually kind of require it. So our guys are meeting with the nutritionist one-on-one. They're required to have the individualized meal plan. Psychologists required to do that whole deal. And then on the court wise, they're working with whether it's myself, Coach Reynolds, Coach Dubai, for an hour, as many days a week as we can possibly get with their schedule. Our goal is to get them out here once a day, for an hour, where it's just them, just us. We're able to dive into whatever it might be that they need work on, right? Whether it's technical, tactical, or they're the kind of guy who needs to hit 1 million balls. But yeah, that kind of session's for them. And then when they take that into the team session, that's where we're getting all the sparring. That's when we're competing. That's when we're kind of sharpening those tools that we worked on in the indies. And then the last piece, and something that I'll mention too, I think that's unique about Auburn, is we've got a physio here, or athletic trainer, as we like to call it in the States, who's full-time, not a GA, and he's only with our 9 guys, period. We don't share him with any other sport at all. This is his full-time gig. And he's a tennis guy, truly understands our sport. Was traveling around the Challenger Tour with a couple players before coming here. Also was working with Michigan State with their men's program before coming here. And he's world-class. So we've developed an individualized prehab plan that's unique to each one of our guys that they kind of operate with Eddie. and an individualized recovery plan, after each day with him as well. So, we feel we've kind of found the happy medium, and we've been able to target the kind of balancing, the team development of the culture kind of during those team sessions and the competitive side of things, and kind of sharpening those general tools, while also being able to really dive into what each individual player needs for their own personal journey and development in the sport.
That is the first time, actually, I've heard from any program, men's or women's tennis, that you've had your own physio/trainer. That's really, really exciting, actually, and it's good to hear. But for players out there listening, considering Auburn, you don't see that very often. So I want to talk about you, right? You're speaking a lot about Auburn, and obviously, and the people around, and your role as the assistant coach this year. You have a unique path in that you've been at 3 mid-majors, I believe, as a coach, and 2 of those you were a head coach, right?
That's right.
Talk us through your decision making there in being a head coach at a mid-major to then coming across to the Power 4 and being an assistant coach. I guess my simple question is why?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm an extremely competitive person. For me, I hate second place. I'm only interested in first place. That's just who I am as a human being. And so I always kind of struggled, even though don't get me wrong, I think being a head coach and anyone who knows me really well knows that I like having autonomy in certain areas, and I believe in kind of operating in a certain way, and that's why Bobby and I work so well, as he gives me some of that autonomy in different areas of the program. And so I love being a head coach. I had great experiences at Montana State. I had great experiences at Jacksonville State. We achieved some unbelievable things. Actually, James, a little fun fact for you. I think between the 2 programs, I want to say we broke north of 30 program records on things between the 2 that had never been done before there at either institution. So that's pretty neat. And so obviously what I was doing was successful. But again, for me, just being at the mid-major level, maybe you have a similar background, spent time at that level as well. You are limited resource-wise. You're limited facility-wise. You're limited with what you can do, and to a certain extent, the players you can attract. And so for me, I always had this itch on being at the highest level of our sport, and legitimately being at a place where you can compete for a national championship, compete for, in the best conference in the country, in the SEC. And so that's kind of what, ultimately attracted me to Auburn, and to this level. And then again, I think you talk about, I mentioned it earlier, just finding a head coach that I believed in, a head coach that I saw eye to eye with. Having been a head coach in my own right, I was very opinionated. I was very strong-headed with the way that I saw things that they should be done, and I'd had success. So I had kind of felt validated in my opinions, right? I know there's more than one way to chop it up. There's more than one way to do things. But I felt validated in the way that I operated. And so I thought that, as I kind of talked with different coaches and looked at this opportunity to possibly take this next step for the SEC in this role, I thought it was very important. I found someone who was like-minded, someone who was searching for success in similar ways. Again, maybe we go about it in maybe I have one path and one way that I believe we're going to achieve our goals, and he has another one. But the fact is that we still have similar philosophies, and we still want to achieve the same goals. We can kind of morph those ideas together and give it an autonomy. So again, I don't know if that fully answers your question, but the biggest thing for me is just wanting to be at a place that provides all the resources under the sun to be able to truly chase national championships, chase conference championships, to compete at the highest level this country has to offer. And the last one, and the biggest one, for me, honestly, is to be at a place where you can consistently and legitimately produce ATP champions. For me, that's the big thing. You look at my background, you didn't mention this part, but before getting into college coaching, I was co-owning a high performance academy in Atlanta, working with a lot of the top U.S. juniors. I remember actually you and Woodruff flew down and were looking at one of my guys that I was working with at the time, and Brandon McKinney back in the day. And so we were working with great players, top 10 players in the country for their respective ages, of course. But I felt like something was missing. And so for me, it's always been able to to be in a place that we can truly provide the facilities, the resources, and the opportunities to develop pros. And I think that's, again, another factor that kind of attracted me to Auburn.
To head coaches out there, if you have the opportunity to hire as your assistant or associate head coach, a head coach at a mid-major, doesn't matter what level, even Division II, Division III, and they've had success and they've broken records, you need to get that person. I fully believe that. Why? Because, Trey, you've had more experience doing things that maybe other coaches haven't, and that's no knack on other coaches. It's just the role you were in. You probably were responsible for making sure that the courts were dry on a Sunday morning. You were probably out there with a dryer, making sure that everything was good to go. Whereas now you're at Auburn and you probably get spoiled with things like that, and you probably struggle seeing your guys get spoiled, right? So big advice there for head coaches out there is definitely find people like that if you can get them and add them to your staff. That's really great information there, Trey. Appreciate you sharing all that. Specifically to UTR, you have built a roster this year where I have you in the top 25 by statistics, by UTR. Talk me through a little bit about your squad this year, your expectations. You have a power 6 of about 78 on the nose. You have players ranging from a 12 to a mid-13. What's your team like? How have you scheduled based on the talent you have? And what are your expectations as a program?
Well, I mean, I think I'll start with the expectation piece, and then I'll kind of dive into the roster specifically. I mean, I think from our end, our expectations are kind of twofold. I think one, we aren't a result-driven program. We're a process-driven program. So when you look at us and kind of how we judge success, it's based around, are we doing everything within our power to put ourselves in a position to win championships and to compete at the highest possible level. So we tell our guys all the time, the standard that we hold in training, the way we hold them accountable, the way we look at their off the court habits, it's not to be the best at Auburn. It's not to be the best in the SEC. It's not to be the best in the country. It's to be the best in the world. Now, will they be the best in the world? I don't know. Time will tell. Odds are probably not in their favor, right? If we're fully honest. But that's the standard that we hold, and that's what we have an interest in. We have an interest in helping our guys maximize their potential and helping this team maximize their potential. All right. So that's kind of one piece. Now, you talk about expectations of being an Auburn Tiger. You look around, when these guys, when they go to the athlete, cafeteria on campus, when they are in the weight room, when they're in the training room, they're rubbing shoulders with athletes that are members of, you look at golf, for example, they won a national championship, I think a year ago. They're number 1 in the country. You look at baseball, they're top 5. You look at basketball, they're number 1 in the country last year. You look at football, they've won 9 national championships, right? You look across the board and it's just, top 5, top 5, top 5, top 10, top 10. So when you look at just the general expectation of being an Auburn Tiger, it's to consistently compete for trophies. That's what it is. If you're not consistently competing for trophies, then it's not to the standard. But again, how we judge success within our program is different than maybe what those outside in the external judge success. Now, kind of looking at our roster, I think it's an extremely exciting year for us. I think we have a good core group coming back off of what was essentially kind of a new team last year. Right before I got here, I think we lost due to graduation. We lost, I think, 4 or 5 starters off of that previous year's team. So last year was a really, really, really young group. And so now we feel that we've had, a full year and a half to kind of build on that and to kind of solidify our base and really had some leaders that have stepped up in the locker room and kind of taken pride and control of guiding these guys in the right way towards success. And then we've got some really exciting additions, kind of maybe that you mentioned a second ago with, more of a true freshman coming in Manel Lazaro from Spain. And then 2, kind of freshmen to college tennis, but some older guys that we think are going to provide a lot of experience in Iker Orberans and also in Alan Bojarski coming from Poland. Both guys are 21, 22 years old. coming into college tennis for the first time. So again, even though they're fresh to this scene, they're guys who have kind of they're more mature, they're more experienced, and they kind of know themselves a bit more at this point than maybe your typical 18-year-old kind of understands themselves. And so we're excited to kind of see how everything meshes together, both again with the core group we have and then the additions that are coming in the spring.
Can you reveal one secret? And that is, will we see the legendary Blades brothers playing doubles together in the spring?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. And I'll tell you a fun, a little secret internally here within our program. And I'll tell you this because it's no secret to us within the locker room and to Billy and Freddie. We already spoke with them. They had one last shot at this thing. I mean, they played so horribly this fall, James, compared to kind of where we thought they were capable of playing and the level that they even thought they were capable of. I mean, they just had a horrific fall. And so we went into sectionals. We were even shocked that they even got into sectionals because we were like, I don't know how they're getting in. They've had such a bad fall. But we said, you know what? We're going to give them one last bite at the apple. Like, this is it. This is the final shot. We're only giving them this chance. We would have broken them up if it weren't for the fact they got into sectionals. And here they go, and they go on a little bit of a tear, and they don't lose in sectionals, and they go into NCAAs kind of feeling a bit more red hot and kind of, final. Obviously, they didn't have the result they wanted at NCAAs, but, feeling much, much, much better about things. So, yeah, if they would have had a rough sectionals, I'd say no chance they're playing together. It's broken up or moving on. But I think there's a shot, and I think it's a great story. I think our SID loves having the Blades boys playing together. He's pretty fired up about it. He likes the sword emoji and all that comes along with it. So we'll see what the future holds. But I think there's a good chance that they have some more opportunities to play together.
Love it. I'm obviously a little biased being from the UK, but also to coaches out there, British tennis players know how to play doubles. They come in knowing how to do it. Why? Because there are systems in place in the UK which are doubles only events. For example, County Week, which occurs in the summer on grass. If you're not getting into the net on a wet, damp grass court on a Thursday afternoon, you're not going to have much success. So they just are good at doubles. They know how to do it. They've also played amongst a team for their county, and they care about playing as a group. So I obviously hugely vouch for British players in general, and I think the LTA, sorry to go on a tangent, but I think the LTA do a tremendous job of developing players and also advising them to go to college in the US. You recently selected a week at the end of July to host a UTR Summer Slam.
That's right.
Talk us through, and I'm very excited about this because I've spoken with you guys a lot, and I incredibly value the opportunity to come to Auburn, men's and women's, for all players. Tell us why you selected that week and your reasoning behind having an event like that, a pro tennis event through UTR on campus.
Well, I think there's a couple factors there. I mean, I think number one, I think it's a great opportunity for us. You look at that week, and it's kind of leading into Kalamazoo, and so we spoke about this a little bit. I think from a recruiting standpoint, and from giving younger players in the area the opportunity to get a lot of matches leading into our nation's largest junior event possible, I think is great for them. And we obviously want to give back to our sport and kind of do our part to provide opportunities as well. I think that's part of our role as coaches. Part of our role in college tennis is to provide opportunities and give chances to grow not only tennis worldwide, but also American tennis. So I think that's one piece to it. I think the second piece is when you look selfishly, when you look internally at our team, wanting to give our guys a chance to compete at home, leading into some other events in the calendar as well, and get a lot of matches and have a chance to get some prize money as we know into their pockets as well. But there's a future that takes place, I think, on hard court the week right after the week we chose, and then following that there's a little bit of a break, and there's another future right here in the South close to our campus on clay. And so I think it's kind of the perfect moment for our guys to get a lot of matches on hard, leading into to a future in South Haven, and then a chance to come back here. We're very fortunate. We've got 16 beautiful clay courts at our university facility here at Auburn. So then a chance to come right back home and train on clay at our facility, leading into another future in Huntsville. So we just felt like, again, both for the betterment of our sport, to have something in the South to prepare our Southern kids for Kalamazoo, but also prepare our players for that future over in Mississippi.
That's the second very unique thing about Auburn. Not only do they have their own physio trainer, but they also have 16 clay courts on site, right at their facility. They have the outdoor, they have the indoor, and right behind that, they have clay courts, which is huge. So very interesting to hear that. By the way, to not just this example, but anytime you want to collaborate UTR with a future, we're all in. We are all about it. We want to give opportunities to players. It's the number one. If you want to give an opportunity to the winner of your event for another event, we are all in. We want to help college tennis, and we want to help college tennis players and aspiring pros. I want to talk a little bit, Trey, just about the state of college tennis in terms of roster limits, right? I remember having a whiteboard just like you have behind you and having 21, 22, 23 and looking ahead to players, going to Kalamazoo, going to these events and looking ahead and actually signing players for 2 years in advance, right? I don't know what it feels like to have a roster limit. What's that like for you? And how are you guys handling that and recruiting?
So this isn't my first go at it. You're gonna laugh, but this isn't my first time kind of feeling like I had a limit on my roster. So when I was at Montana State as the head coach there, we dealt with we had a very, very strict Title IX policy, and they said, "Hey, you are not to go over 9 players in your squad," which ironically is the same number that we're dealing with now in the SEC. We're kind of stuck at 9. So I kind of learned then just the value of being extremely picky, okay, and really making sure that you evaluate your guys that are coming in like just to an absurd amount. Now I had the opposite experience, when I went to Jacksonville State, and I don't know if anyone's aware on this call, but I carried 13 players, when I was at Jacksonville State, and we had some advantages with academic scholarship and things we could do to kind of stretch our money. And so, there I felt a little less picky. Like, yeah, you still wanted to get the right guys on the bus. Yeah, you were still very picky about who you're getting in culture-wise, but you could take more chances level-wise, right, on players. I definitely think it's a challenge. I mean, I think it just kind of takes me back more to that Montana State mentality when we're here at Auburn on just really, really, really making sure that it's the optimal guy. I think that as a coach, you have to know what your standards are. You have to know what you want in a player, and then being willing to say no. I think a lot of times as coaches, we're all guilty of it, where you start to get into a battle. You're like, man, I don't know if I see it in this guy, or whatever. But then all of a sudden, I'll call it the other hot girl, someone else in the conference starts getting on. You're like, well, you start second guessing. Well, maybe I am should go after this guy a little bit more. And you kind of get a bit twisted. But I think it's just making sure you understand what you see in the player. You make sure that if they don't meet your standards, you say no and you move on, because you are limited, and you've got to make sure that you get, I think, especially with double headers and the 500 rule, you got to make sure you get 9 guys that can truly play. If you don't have 9 guys that can absolutely go to battle for you on any given day, then I think you're doing your program a disservice. So for us, I think it's just that. It's just being extraordinarily picky, and making sure we evaluate to a T. And I think sometimes what comes with that, to your point, is maybe if it's the right kid, we're going to be able to make an offer early out, early in that process. But what I find with us in our program is we're just being a little bit more patient. We're sitting back and we're kind of waiting, and we're making sure that we're having enough conversations with the kid that we feel that great connection, and we feel that there's a lot of trust going both ways, both with them, with us, and also us with them.
Last question I have for you, Trey. I've taken enough of your time. You mentioned the game of golf. Is it true that right beside the tennis courts at Auburn, there is a golf course? Is that right?
That's right. Actually, when you come out of our facility, let me rephrase that. When you're turning into our facility, you either go left or right. Okay. There's a left in the Auburn University Club, which is where the golf course is. That's actually where Bobby's house is too. He lives inside the club. And then you go left and you go into to our tennis center. So everything's right here. Little fun fact: our guys are fully addicted to golf in our team. So they are.
I love that.
Thanks. There any off weekend we have, there's one of two things they're doing. All right, if they've got the full weekend off and they don't have a tournament, they're either going to Lake Martin and they're hopping on the jet skis at the lake house, or they're jumping on the greens across the street. So that's what it is at Auburn Tennis on a weekend off.
Who's the best? Who has the highest UTR in golf on your team?
Bobby swears it's him. He swears up and down it's him, but I think he's gotten a little rusty. He's playing a little less golf now than he has in the past. The one that talks a mad game, and I haven't seen it personally. We've been talking about doing a team golf outing with coaches involved here, but it's Freddie Blades. Supposedly he's the GOAT. Supposedly he's the guy that he's the golfer. That's word on the street, at least.
I love it. Well, actually, at Tennessee, we organize probably 2 to 3 golf outings per year, especially in the fall. And we had teams of 4. It was a scramble. You had to pick the best shot every single time. And the team chemistry and the noise on the golf course and the energy that was being brought was insane. So I highly advise you to do that. But yes, Bobby, if he's listening to this, I'll probably be giving him a call while I come out to your event, and maybe we can get 18 holes in. But Trey, honestly, I think you guys are doing a tremendous job. I think your program's going to have a lot of success this year. I just want to let you know that from everyone at UTR, we wish you the best of luck. We will be following and can't wait to work with you in July. So thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you for your time as well, James, and I appreciate you having me on.
Cheers.
All right, War Eagle.